In this lecture, we will learn about displaying and setting the host name. Let's look at some of these examples. For example, if you wanted to list your host name, you would run a command called hostname. If you wanted more details, you would type in hostnamectl to list host name and some other system details. In order to set your host name or to change your host name from whatever it is to, let's say, Linux, then you can type in a command hostnamectl set-hostname and the name of the new server, whatever you want to name it, or your host name. But you have to reboot to apply the host name change. You can also change it by editing a particular file. Let me bring up the terminal and let's look at these examples through the terminal. To do these examples, make sure you're logged in as root or a privileged user. A regular user will probably not be able to change the host name because it does not have enough permissions. So if we type in hostname command, hit enter, it will tell you what the host name is. The host name is test. We can also use another command called hostnamectl. This command will display a lot more information. It will also tell you the static host name. It will tell you it's a VM. It will give you the machine ID and boot ID name. Virtualization is KVM. Operating system, it's CentOS Linux 7. And it will tell you what the kernel is, and it will also tell you the architecture. In this case, it's 64-bit. So you can run hostname command or hostnamectl to find information about your host name. Let me clear the screen. Now, if you wanted to change your host name, what you would do is you can type in hostnamectl set-hostname, and then you type in the new host name. In our case, currently it's called test. Let's name our new host name Linux. So now if I hit enter, let me run the command hostname again. Now my host name has been changed to Linux. Even though our host name has been changed for this session right now, as it seems, it still shows test here. It's still actually not changed. In order for you to make this change permanent and have the host name actually change, you will have to reboot your system. In this case, I'm not going to change my host name because I don't want to right now. But if I needed to, I would just reboot my system right now and my host name will change. You can also do that by, there is a file called hostname file. You can also go in there and make a change to your host name. You would again have to reboot to make that choice permanent. Let's look at that file first. Cat etc hostname, hit enter. As you can see, the host name has been changed here as well, but we haven't rebooted yet, so the change is not permanent. So if you wanted to make this change permanent, you would need to reboot. One more thing you should know is on Red Hat and CentOS, hostname file is listed under etc hostname, all lowercase. In some systems, you may find that file in a different place. For example, in SUSE Linux, you may find it under etc hostname, but hostname would be uppercase. So there's some variation on different distros. It's the same thing, but there may be some variation of where the file is stored on a different distro.